to the couch.
Hey, y'all. How you doing? How you feeling? Lex, how you feeling today?
I feel, didn't mean to turn into a philosophical question, but that reminds me about a conversation about feelings. And I hate that I took it there, but that's exactly what my first thought was, where I was having a conversation about feelings, and like, well, how do you feel right now? And I was like, I don't know. Like, are you supposed to have be able to be like, boom, I feel uneasy. I feel happy. I feel like, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
do you feel like you can do that?
I have to think about it. I think the reflex action is to say I'm good.
Yeah.
But like a lot of times people aren't actually good. You're better or you're worse or you're whatever. But also it's like you have to read the situation. Like, do they actually care how you are, or is this just a greeting? Because in the U.S., we tend to use "Hey, how you doing?" as a greeting, but don't actually care.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of my friends from China was like, "Why do people do that? Like, why do they ask me and then walk off?"
Yeah. And I think I'm thinking more of like, what is that response, right? Like, if I really want to give you a real answer, it's like, But for the most part, I feel like we are in a space of, you're content, or you're in a chill mode where that is when you're just like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm good. There's nothing, like, you didn't catch me in like a heated moment of excitement or, sadness or whatever. But I think there is more vocabulary that we could incorporate into those answers about how we feel, and like, how do you really feel? Because what does good mean? Like, that doesn't even really mean anything either,
doesn't.
But right now I am feeling, I feel like if I think too hard, it's like I'm always going to feel either slightly anxious or slightly excited. And my feelings are always going to be about what I'm thinking about, like it's going to happen, or the future, or whatever's going on. But in this moment, I feel, I don't know how I feel.
You don't have to have an answer.
I know, and that's what I'm just, I'm sorry, everybody's listening like, all right, nigga, like, all right, next. But like, I'm not trying to, it's not that I'm trying to think about it so much, as that I'm like, wow, like, why would you not know how you feel right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's
kind of what's making me think, like, what is that? So I think maybe I'll start doing that, like, random times during the day, and be like, what I feel like right now. It will not being connected. Like, you're,
I'm just messing with you. Sorry, no, I was just teasing you.
Today we're going to talk about getting rest and sleep. And in the past we talked about getting burnt out, and we've mentioned like Sleep Cycle app and other apps about sleeping and paying attention to that. But Carlie has seemed, I'm gonna let her speak for herself, but Carlie has seemed kind of tired lately, and I think like she had the idea to like talk about like, what does it feel like when you need to rest, and what does getting good quality rest and sleep look like?
Yeah, I think it's something that we don't talk about. To circle back and to connect it, to circle back to what you said, like setting times in the day when you check in with yourself, just to see how you're feeling. That's actually kind of how I got to this topic, because I've been feeling so tired lately. Like, I'm just exhausted, and I feel like I need so much rest. And that comes with a lot in and of itself. But I was reading an article, and it was saying that, like, if as soon as you hit the bed, you fall asleep, like, you're probably exhausted, and you probably need more sleep. And I'm like, like, I've always just kind of hit the bed and fell asleep. So have I always been exhausted? And that's when I kind of started researching into this and realized, like, oh, like, I think rest is something that people have a lot of issue with, either taking, like, not getting enough of, or getting too much of, but never actually stopping to have the conversation, and never really stopping to check in with yourself to see how you feel.
Yeah, I've had conversations before with people, and it made me feel really bad. Like, well, I'm glad I don't have that problem. But there's one thing where, people were like, yeah, they don't go to sleep as well. But I remember having conversations where I was like, I literally like get up like every couple hours, or like it takes hours to fall asleep, or it's like once I get up and use the bathroom, like I cannot go back to sleep, and it could be like 2 a.m. And I'm just like, man, that sounds awful. And I feel like I don't have any of those issues. But there's a lot of people who, whether you are trying to get sleep and you have difficulty sleeping, or whether you're doing too much and you're just not letting yourself even try to like get the rest that you need. Sleep is very important. Like we all need a certain amount of hours of sleep because of what's actually going on in your body. Your body needs time to reset. Your body needs time to heal. Your body needs time to rest. And I think there's something about storing memories at a certain time of evening or in a certain period of like deepness of your sleep or whatever. And so there are processes that are going on, which is why it's literally technically important for you to be getting rest.
It's super important. And for people who are like, team no sleep, I'll sleep when I'm dead. First of all, I'm not on your team.
First of all, that shit corny.
It's mad corny, so figure that out.
Please stop saying rise and grind. It's all that.
Unless
just stop.
You work at a coffee shop. But then also people who are like, I only need like 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night. So I did research on that. And in fact, only 3% of people, they said, have the gene to where they don't actually need as much sleep as everybody else. But for everybody else, they said it's somewhere for adults between 7 to 10 hours.
So what's going on with those people when they only need a couple hours?
They have a gene that allows their body to function.
No. With people who are like that, I feel like people can say that, and it's almost like gloating or boasting about something that, bro, you actually shouldn't have to do that. Like you're boasting about something, or like boasting about not sleeping, and it's like your body is crashing like as we speak right now, and it may not feel like that immediately, like because as we're younger we can stay up later and we do more whatever. When you're excited about something, you can be up all night working on your website, working on whatever, and I think that's fine. I think there's time and place for when you have to write a paper or do whatever and you're up and you're getting less sleep. But it always catches up to you like over a certain amount of time. It's literally a clock that's running down of what your body is needing, what it's doing when it's resting, to where like you literally like won't be able to function anymore. Have you ever pulled an all-nighter?
Oh my God. I look back at my college stuff and I'm like, girl, take your ass to bed. Yeah, I did. I used to pull a lot of them because I, worked and stuff. And so it wasn't always just like a mismanagement of time. It was sometimes like that's the only time I had to study and do stuff. Not always, but sometimes with a little bit of procrastination sprinkled in there. But I realized like I always felt like shit the next day. And like I would be tired for whatever other thing that I'm doing. So it's just this downhill slope into something. I was trying to think through like outside of the all-nighters, because I put a lot of them in the union at OU. Other things that I did was I would try to go to sleep early and then wake up really early, like to finish a paper. So the paper's due tomorrow, and I'm like, instead of doing this all-nighter, I'm going to get me a couple hours, wake up hella early and finish it. And I felt like I was always more successful when I did that as opposed to whenever I actually tried to just go the whole time up. Do you do all-nighters or have you done all-nighters?
I had, and why I asked is because that feeling the next morning, like when you've been up that whole time, and it's like after a certain point you get re-energized, but then it's like it hits you where you're like almost like dizzy, or I guess I can speak for myself, but you get to a certain point of when you've been up too long, you literally feel kind of like queasy-ish, dizzy-ish a little bit, and you can literally feel, I've said literally like 500 times in this episode, but you can feel you can't think all the way. You feel cloudy and you feel like I need to go to sleep. But there's like this fake energy too. But then as soon as you go to sleep, it's like a total reset. And I think it's interesting too. And it's weird how if you're up all night or if you've had a couple of days where you're not getting sleep, it's almost like then when you do go to sleep, it's still not enough. And like it's almost like you sleep extra to like get back to regular. Yeah. In a weird way. So it's not like, okay, I'll just go to sleep and then when you wake up, you're back. It's like it sets you back for real. If you get to the point of dysfunction and then now you're trying to like repair.
And see, I got mad excited because I actually read about that too. So when I'm like learning about a topic, I like to read a lot of different things because, we hear like, oh, I'm just sleeping extra now to make up for that. So you actually do have like a sleep bank. So whenever you don't, like, let's say you pull it on it. No, but I'm saying, but like the scientifically, like you have it. But even if you get the extra sleep, it's not like you can really make up for your deficit in that one day. So even though you don't get any sleep one night and you sleep 10 or 12 hours the next day, you're still at a deficit. Like even if you would have gotten 6 and 6 each night.
Right. So then when we don't rest, we have that deficit. I feel like obviously when you're not sleeping, the more tired, fatigued you are, the less effective you are, the more irritable you are. What are some other things like when you're not getting good enough rest, like consistently?
So I would say it really affects your creativity and your motivation, like because they say, like therapy, there's this thing, like hungry, angry, lonely, or tired.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're any of those things, you need to check those 4 things before you think like, oh, I'm this or I'm that or I'm anxious or I'm these things. Because literally those are, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like you're literally taking care of your most basic needs to make sure you can show up as your whole self in all of these spaces. And so I would say I have an issue, like you said, I feel like there's a block. Like when I'm exhausted, like my problem solving skills, my creativity, my motivation, they're all affected a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't show up in the same. It's hard to concentrate or focus on things, remembering things. Like the nights that I will pull all nighters, I'm like, man, I read this question 10 times. I even did the work 10 times. Why am I struggling right now?
You're just way less productive because it's almost like you're deciding to operate with your brain on like a lower frequency than normal, which then kind of makes everything like perpetuated difficulty with like whatever you're doing, right? I think another thing like health wise or physical wise is like aging and you know not getting enough sleep. Like you can see it. Like you're gonna have the bags, you're gonna have the fine lines, the wrinkles. There is with not getting enough sleep and oversleeping, it's some of the same things too, which is interesting. Like there's always a good space for you to where there's an increase in obesity and heart problems and all kinds of other things as well. And so it really is important to get that rest because of what benefits then, I guess, to flip it.
To flip it, I feel like it gives you a stronger foundation to deal with, like, to be in a healthier mental space. So you're not as irritable, you're not as stressed, you're able to think more clearly. So making decisions and interacting in relationships and situations that normally wouldn't have set you off if you're, tired, you are going off. Whereas whenever you have enough rest and you feel full, you probably have that pause sometimes that we talk about before you like lash out or say something crazy.
Okay. And then, I don't know, when I think about the benefits of sleep and getting enough rest, I don't really think of a whole bunch of like things that connect to it outside of just the obvious of just peak performance of my mind essentially. I haven't really like looked at my charts and graphs to really think about like how is it affecting my mood per se or whatever. But that also may be because I kind of feel like for the most part I'm always like a little bit tired anyway, and so I'm trying to think like when's the last time that you felt like all the way rested, like 100% rested?
Man, actually, I would probably say recently, I was sick whenever I got back in Argentina. I got actually some really good rest in Argentina, like, 7-8 hours a night, and that was nice. When I got back and I was sick and I slept. I don't normally try to take medicine, but I know I'm sick if I took NyQuil and I was like out. And I woke up the next day and I was like, oh, okay, like reset. Like I feel a lot better.
Oh, really?
Okay. But I was like, I don't know if that's the NyQuil, and I don't know.
How much rest do you get usually, like on a regular basis?
Oh, sheesh. I aim for 6 at least. Most days I get that, I would say. But I do, like, I don't sleep in. Like, if I can only get 5, I'll just wait and do 4.5 because I try to sleep in sleep cycles, which prior to all this research is like an hour and a half-ish. So I can go into my deeper REM sleep, which is when your body can rest and digest and heal and do all of those things. And if I wake up in the middle of it, for like 5 hours feels terrible to me, where 6 feels good. And so I either do like 4.5 or 6 or more. Like past 6 is fine.
Because at a certain time period, that's what your body's doing?
Yeah, well, at a certain time period, like if you wake up and you're in your deepest point of sleep, like I feel really foggy.
But I'm saying your deepest point of sleep is 5 hours in?
No, I don't actually know that. I just try to go by the sleep cycle. So an hour and a half. So if I can get an hour and a half, it's that. Instead of 2, if I can get 3, it's that. Then 4.5, and then 6.
I just don't understand.
So
you keep saying an hour and a half, but I don't know what that means.
So that means it gives me enough time to go into my deep sleep and come out of it, because they're like cycles, like waves. And I'm not a sleep scientist, and so don't.
No, it's not that. I just literally don't understand.
So an hour and a half is a block. It gives you a time to go into deep sleep and get out.
And
so if I wake up in the middle of an hour and a half, if I wake up in 45 minutes, like halfway through the cycle, then I am in my deepest point of sleep. So if I did one, that's 1.5. If I've done another, that's 3. If I do another, that's 4.5. And if I wake up at 5, I'm going into my deep sleep. So when I wake up, I feel foggy.
So with yours, you see that yours going up and down.
Well, I just did that to illustrate. I don't actually know what that does.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is you know yourself. If a sleep cycle is 1.5 hours,
Yeah.
you're saying you know that yours is doing that every 1.5 hours.
Yeah, I feel like that's what it's doing. That's what I'm saying. I'm also not a sleep scientist, so I don't know. But I feel awkward when I wake up about like 5 hours just feels terrible. Whereas 6 is fine, 4.5 is fine, but 5 is trash for me.
Okay.
Like I can't. And in my head, the only reason why that would be is I would be waking up during the middle of my deep sleep and not giving my body enough time to either be present there or to get in or out of it.
But the body is always going up and down. It's not like here's deep sleep for quite a while.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. But I read a thing that was saying that sleep cycles are an hour and a half.
Okay.
And so if you're napping, like that's why they
Which
tell you to do
restarts
20
every
minutes.
hour and a half.
Yeah, like
Okay.
But but I'm also making a disclaimer again. I'm not a sleep scientist, so I don't know.
Well, but the reason why I'm asking, I'm not trying to challenge like the science of it. I'm asking you because you're saying you feel better at a certain time, so you know that what yours looks like if you're making that decision to get that much sleep, right?
But I'm clarifying because I feel like when I read the thing, it's an hour and a half, and so I've tried to sleep like that, and it's been working a lot better for me. But I do not know if, in fact, it is a cycle like waves, or if it goes down and it stays and then it comes back up.
Okay.
But I've tried it in the waves. I don't actually know what happens when I'm doing that, and I haven't been using an app, so I don't have any data about like what my sweet spot is.
Okay.
But
because I always think too, like, okay, putting into factor like what time do you fall asleep? You know what I mean? Like, because then that's when the hour and a half starts, right? Once you actually fall asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So that's something I would want to track and like look at, or you can look at the ones that are there now and just see like, does yours look like an hour and a half?
Yeah, I need to see what that is. I'm trying to think of the article. I have it sourced somewhere.
Well, not the article, but like looking at your patterns.
Yeah, I need to do that. I haven't done
it. Because you can look at your patterns and see like, when you wake up, where was it in that 4.5 or 5 hours or whatever?
Yeah,
you know?
And when I actually fell asleep, that's why I need to get like either a heart monitor, an Apple Watch, or something to actually do that. Because if I feel
it's in the Apple thing now too, in the regular one.
But I feel like, how does it actually know if I just click the button and say I'm going to sleep at 10? Like, how can it be accurate if it doesn't have my heart and stuff attached to it?
Oh, you don't do anything. They do it by your movement. Like I know Sleep Cycle, they have thing that's monitoring. So if you're putting it on a nightstand beside you, it's going by your activity. So if whether you're doing this or whether you're like got up, it shows like whoop.
That's
this much
interesting.
movement. And so when you said waves, in my head that's what I'm thinking like like when you see the waves on your app or whatever. But it's also in the regular Apple thing. Like you don't have to have an app.
So it goes by movement. That's interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah. So it can show when you're in deepest sleep, which is in mine, it's like at the bottom, like you're like dead, like there's nothing.
Like nothing.
And then, but you could see when it's like. And it correlates, like if you woke up or even if you turned or like you're like or whatever, like it correlates, so you know like when you're in your deepest sleep.
Interesting.
And so that's what I was asking about yours, like do you know yours is like that?
And that's what I'm telling you, like
because mine is random. So I'm like, what the fuck is an hour and a half for? Like, and why would it repeat like that? Like I don't go to sleep, come out, go to sleep, come out. I'm like kind of like that. And so I would look at it and see like what the pattern is and then try to apply that to be like, oh, I do notice within an hour and a half or whatever, like this is what's happening or, whatever it may be. Because I think that is a cool tip to like apply to how long you sleep. Because there is it's like sometimes it doesn't matter how long per se, or like that's not the defining factor of how well you feel when you get up, but like what did you jolt out of?
Yeah.
And also, but with my, when I do use my app, it also wakes me up when I'm at that point. So it's not a jolting like if you set your alarm.
Oh, that's cool.
So it jolts you when it sees you starting to like move a lot more. And then it's slow, like the alarm comes on because it's like, oh, if you say I want to wake up by 6:30, like I think between 6:15 and 6:30, it starts monitoring to where when it sees you're at an optimal place, then it starts doing
That's really cool. And it goes by movement. That's really dope. I had no idea.
How do you feel like the quality of your sleep is then?
I feel like the quality of my sleep is good because in my head, like I sleep like a rock. Like I literally lay my head down and I'm out and then I wake up in the morning. Like
Have you always been like that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I sleep hard.
I've always, like as a kid, I remember like I always laid down and would like feel like I was up for hours just sitting there. And then like I never went to sleep directly. These days it's not long. And these days I usually put on like a meditation or something. So I know I'm usually sleep within 10, 15 minutes, but it's never like close my eyes and I don't remember like life. So it's always a little bit of time.
Yeah.
The quality feels okay. I could tell the difference, based on the things I did that day or like what I ate or drank or did, so I feel like I kind of know myself with some of that stuff. But if I'm doing like my regular day, nothing crazy, I tend to get a pretty good quality sleep, and I actually try to go for like 8, but I usually get 6 if I really look at my stuff. And if I try to set for like 7ish. So for me, if I get up to 8 or so, it's good. But I can sleep also till 10, 11, 12 hours if I wanted to. It's not hard for me to just stay asleep.
To just be sleep.
Yeah.
How do you judge the quality of your sleep? You said it's pretty good for the most part. What does that mean?
I would say my quality of sleep is bad if I'm moving around a lot at night, if I get too hot, or if I'm like sweating and like environment wakes me up, or if I'm like jolted up with my thoughts or taking too long to fall asleep. All of those affect the quality, I would say. And maybe I base it too off of like how I feel when I get up. Like, but I kind of feel like I'm always like, no. There's been a few days like you wake up and you're like, man, I'm up. But a lot of times it's kind of like, in the morning, like whatever. So
no, I think that's a good gauge.
Yeah.
I think about like if I wake up a lot during the night, which usually doesn't happen, and so it's rare that I'm like waking. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, and I don't want to confuse the quality of my sleep with my taking too long to get moving. Because like if I wake up and then I'm like pick up my phone or you start doing stuff like that can kind of change your mood or whatever too. So I'm not really basing it on mood, but like how do I like feel and like feeling kind of sharp and. I think it is important, like the first thing you do in the day to keep that or send it the right projection. But for the most part, I'm all right. Like it's been a long time since I could only get like hour of sleep, 2 hours of sleep, anything like that.
And so it's not hard for you to sleep at all?
Nah, and I don't even care what I have to do. I'm going to sleep, like period. There's nothing. Like I have so much stuff to do, and I always do, and I'm going to sleep.
I wish I had started that earlier. Like I used to feel like, no, I have to do all these things before I can go to sleep and then stay up and like suffer.
But I do that because I know I can do it, like, which isn't a good thing. But like, and that's procrastination periods. Like, you can get it done or you'll be fine. So, I'm not going to be pressed about it.
Yeah, it's easy for me to sleep, but I'm being much more intentional about it now because I know my body needs that rest. Like if I'm working out all the time, if I'm my schedule changes almost every day, like in what time I have to wake up and do things and be at the gym or train clients or work out for myself. And so it's like, how can I show up the best for all of those things? And a lot of time it's like long stretches in the day. And so.
But why would it be hard to be intentional about your sleep?
Because there's so many things that I have to get done during the day. And so what I'm saying is like intentional, like longer, like at least 6 hours, like minimum.
In the evening?
Mm-hmm.
But you do have that intention, right?
I do now, but I'm saying it's just now here.
Okay, so before you would just stay up and work on stuff or do whatever,
and then get up at whatever time I had to get up and keep it moving. Especially during school, like my sleep schedule was trash. Like I always slept like a rock, but it was still like the consistency was trash.
Do you have any feelings of guilt around sleep and getting rest?
I do. I'm still breaking through that mindset of like. Sometimes I feel lazy when I feel like I'm resting too much. Like on Saturday morning, sometimes if I wake up and I'm like, oh, I could just kind of, lay here for a little bit. Then I start feeling a little anxious, like, man, I should be doing stuff. Like, Carlie, get up. But it's like, why can't I just lay here? Or if I don't finish like a proposal or something that I'm working on and I'm about to go to bed, I'm like, man, I really should just finish that before I go to sleep. But it's like, no, but I'm tired. And so I've been giving myself the grace to be like, no, you're tired. Go to sleep. Get up and finish in the morning and maybe be better with your time management tomorrow so that you don't have that dilemma right before you go to sleep.
In other circumstances, would you have been feeling that and then get up and do it?
It wouldn't have been an option to go to sleep. I just would have did it. Like back in the day, I just would have did it.
Okay. One thing that my trainer said to me a couple weeks ago that kind of stuck with me, and I've been thinking about it and brought it into different conversations because I was like, man, I'm kind of in a slump. Like I've been super tired lately, like hard to get up to go to the gym. And he was like, that's fine. Like, if you need rest or whatever, that's fine. Or even if you don't, like, even if you're not doing a thing, period, like, not even about sleep, that's fine. Because, like, don't psych yourself out about it. And I was like, oh, that makes total sense. Like, own your decision that you're making. So don't psych yourself out. Like, oh, I'm about to stay up all night and like do this thing. And then you just feel bad when you're like, oh man, now I kind of want to go to sleep, or, you know, whatever it is. Like, you're fighting it too much versus being intentional about, okay, I'm going to go to sleep, and like, I'm going to sleep and I'm going to do this at this point or whatever. Like, don't psych yourself out. So in his case, it's like, hey, don't do the booking thing. Like, so the day before you can say if you're going to be there, what time, whatever. He's like, yo, don't psych yourself out. Like, yeah, I'm going to be there. And then in the morning you're like, and now you feel bad all day because you said you were going to do it and you didn't do it. Like, just be intentional and say, nah, I'm going to rest today, or nah, I'm not going. I don't want to go because I want to do this instead. And having that ownership of it, I think makes it much more real for you to just be intentional about like how you're spending the time. Whether you're relaxing, relax, chill, rest. When I'm watching TV and stuff now, I try to be like, all right, I'm not trying to watch TV and work. Like, I'm just chilling right now.
Yeah.
Or if I'm working, I'm just working. Like, I don't usually like work with like stuff on or whatever. So with the sleep, it's the same thing. Like, do you have a time that you're set to go to sleep, or do you have a time that you want to set to try and be up, and just being real about it? I had been guilty about, you know, waking up whenever I feel like or whatever. And then, you know, my friends can be like, yo, isn't that supposed to be the perk of like, you work for yourself? And so, you know, and even since then I haven't had no issue. Like, and I also do get up at 5, but like, I don't have no issue every day where I kind of roll over, or I start, maybe more so starting my day as far as work and all that, because I can start it when I start it. I can go to sleep when I need to go to sleep. And whether you need your 8 hours, 6 hours, whatever, just be intentional about what you're doing and try to stick to that. And, you know, also taking it easy on yourself.
I love that. And but also just taking ownership of your decision and making it, and that just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, like if you're okay with it, just make sure you just be okay with it. Otherwise, that's back to lying to yourself again.
Yeah. And beating ourselves up for no reason. It's like, oh man, I should have did this thing. Well, you didn't do it, so let it go. And that's okay.
But so that's what we feel like is good sleep, right? Or we feel a little sharper, don't necessarily feel dragging. And then the definition that Carlie had looked up specifically for good quality sleep means that you typically fall asleep in 30 minutes or less, and you sleep soundly through the night with no more than one awakening. And you can drift back to sleep within 20 minutes if you do wake up, which that's a big part too. Some people will say, you know, oh, I wake up and then they can't get back to sleep, which I'm like, never had that problem. But yeah, if you wake up and then you're just like, you're stuck, then that's definitely something to think about and look at.
Yeah, I was about to say, I only have that happen when I'm anxious about something, or like overthinking or struggling with a situation. Like, that's the only time.
I used to always do that before we were about to go to our grandma's house. I don't know why it was like a big deal, because my grandma, growing up, she lived like 12 hours away, and so it'd always be like a road trip and stuff. And like the day before, I'd always be like, oh man, like I can't sleep. Or kind of like with Christmas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah, be excited.
Yeah,
I used to do that with track meets.
Yeah, that's how it is, like with that anxiety. Or if you know, I'm trying to think of something else, because now I wish I had it now, because I'd be having flights and I'd be like, I could sleep another hour. But like back when you knew you had to be somewhere, and you're like, you couldn't really sleep because you didn't want to miss the alarm, but now you're like, I don't even need the alarm because I'm up. So yeah, a lot of that kind of will have to do with anxiety. Yeah.
And then what kind of, like, how would you say that you get good rest? So listeners, like, thinking about, now that we've read like our definitions and the actual definition, like, do you think you get good quality rest? And then we have like a little quiz that you can kind of go through. So think of your answers now, and then we'll go through the quiz, and we'll see if it's the same, if it changed, or if it gave you anything else to think about.
Yeah, so these are some qualities of a person, like if you're not getting enough rest, or the good quality sleep and rest that you need.
Okay, so 1, do you need an alarm clock in order to wake up one time, or you're always relying on the snooze?
You want to talk about it now, or just go through the list and come back?
We can talk about it.
You know, alarm clock in order to wake up. Yeah, and I kind of agree with that, actually, because I think if you're in a cycle, it really is a cycle that you develop for yourself. And so if your sleep cycle is terrible, yes, you can retrain that. And I would probably agree. If you're getting quality sleep, your mind wakes up, like your eyes open up. And sometimes, kind of like my thing is like, I wake up every day like between 4 and 5, but I don't really get up, like, you know what I mean. So that's different. But like if you waking up, like, okay, versus if it's like open your eyes like, oh, it's midnight, or like it's 12 or like whatever time, and oh my god, like that's crazy.
Yep. You have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, that's real. I think that can mean you're not getting quality sleep, and it can be in a whole lot of other things.
Exactly. As I was like, that could be a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of an obvious one. Another one is like when you start to feel sluggish in the afternoon. So does that mean like if you can't make it through the day?
Yeah, or you just feel a slump. But I think that could also be like if you're not eating healthy food or eating enough or drinking enough water. There's a lot of other things.
I agree. That's a big one about food for sure.
It's a huge indicator also of like sleep. So if you are eating healthy and you still feel exhausted in the afternoon, like there's probably some sleep things that could be tailored.
But even still, like you shouldn't get so sleepy after like every meal and you know, after everything you do. Obviously there's other factors, so like if you had just had like some fried chicken and greens and stuff, like you're about to be knocked out.
Yeah,
and we probably shouldn't be eating that heavy anyway. But if you're super tired, like there have been times where I could like if I eat anything, I'm like, I just want to take a nap just because I want to, because I know it's about to hit right now. But you shouldn't be like totally done for the day just because like you had something to eat. Like it shouldn't be that serious.
So I think that's a big indicator. But also getting sleepy in meetings, like lectures and warm rooms, like when you're driving, like whenever, any time where it's something that you might find less stimulating for your brain and you're just exhausted.
Yeah. So if without stimulus you're just immediately like falling asleep, then that probably is a good sign. If you fall asleep while watching TV, relaxing, doing things, so while there's stimulus, then that probably means that you need to sleep more.
Man,
if you feel the need to sleep in, is because you probably need to sleep in, and so you probably need to be getting better sleep. And then like Carlie said too, like if you're falling asleep immediately, then that means you probably are behind, and your body's like, phew, been waiting for this moment.
That's how my body. So sometimes. Another reason I guess I can realize sometimes that I don't have enough sleep is I'll be doing stuff and I'll wake up at like 2:00 in the morning and not remember falling asleep, lights still on, computer open, faces on a book. And I'm like, Carlie, damn it.
You do that?
Yeah, sometimes.
Man. I can tell you last time I did something like that.
Oh, I be out.
Unless it was like some other factors or something, but not just from doing something and being knocked out.
Oh, I do that in regular life. I should do better.
I always got to get up and come to my room or whatever, at least. So based on these things that we kind of said, then where do you really feel like you stand with your quality? How many of those do you have an issue with?
1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, I have like 5 of 8. So I guess I got to work on the quality. I also think it's like the consistency of my sleep, because when I feel like when I get it, I get like a good quality, but it's still not enough sleep. So I'm like burning the candle on both ends. It's not working out. What about you?
Is that on mine like 3, maybe 2 or 3, and that's like the kind of feeling sluggish and sometimes having a hard time getting out of bed, and maybe feeling the need to sleep in on weekends, but I don't know, I kind of do but kind of don't. I wouldn't say weekends, but maybe some days, because some days is different for me than the weekend. It was something I was gonna ask you, but now I don't remember. Oh, what do you blame when you say that? Like, man, it might be good quality, but I still think I need to get more sleep. So what can you do? Because you have a schedule where, you know, and most people do have to be somewhere at a certain time in the morning or whatever. Like, literally, how can you get more sleep?
Put it in my schedule. Like, to get a sleep schedule, like this is turn off time regardless of like whatever else I haven't gotten done or whatever. Like, this is the time I need to go to sleep in order to get the proper amount of time. And also, if I do that consistently throughout the week, I think that would help a lot. Like if every night I went to bed at this time so I could wake up. So even if I'm not opening the gym or teaching a class or whatever at 5 a.m., like still waking up around the same times, I think that would help me a lot.
Have you ever set a certain time you need to be in bed and wake up?
I did. Whenever, I guess a couple months ago, like whenever we were doing our planners and stuff all the time, like I was going to bed around 10 or 10:30 every night, and it was great.
And what happened?
Life.
I about to say I still be in bed at 10.
I know. That's what I need to do.
I don't really have to write it down because I'm tired by then. Like I just go to sleep unless I'm, I'm doing something or whatever.
Yeah.
But like for the most part, like I'm knocked out by before 11 because I always wake up to it'll be like a text at like 10:40 or something. I'm like it wasn't late, but like nigga, I'm just gone. So I don't.
Yeah. So I need to set a sleep schedule.
And I just don't really like staying up. Like for what? Like I noticed like my work productivity like will go down through the day from the morning being the most optimal time for me. And so when I get to a certain point, it's like, well, I'm not doing nothing at this point, but like not wasting time, but like watching something or, doing whatever. So it's like time. I could just go to sleep. Like I might as well just go to sleep. The only thing for me is like if I have friends over or something like that, but that'd be good. So what are, outside of having a sleep schedule then, what are some other things that we can do to get better quality sleep and to make sure like we're getting the rest that we need?
Practicing mindfulness. So whether that's breathing or meditation, either in the morning or at night or both, just being more mindful with your body and checking in and seeing how you feel and giving yourself that time. And that also leads to relaxing at night. So if you come home from work or working out and it's 9 p.m. and you're trying to hop straight in bed, you're not giving yourself enough time to disconnect from the outside world and from everything that you just came from. And so I think sometimes that energy of constantly moving or wherever you came from can follow you to bed, and then you're up like, why am I still up? You didn't give yourself time to like wind down and to relax.
That's why I like doing meditations at night, like a let go of the day type or whatever. Like I usually do one at night too for that reason, like to kind of let my brain chill. Another thing is watching your light exposure. And you can see that in our tech, the way that they have continued to create more dark modes and night modes. And there's different apps for your like laptop and everything to get a more yellow light instead of that bright blue light and white light, because your brain and your eyes are created like scientifically, like they are stimulated. So that while your eyes are stimulated, your mind is stimulated, you can't rest all the way. And so one thing, once you have your sleep schedule, is to try, and maybe you can just start with like the 30 minutes. I used to do like an hour before, but like try to not be on TV, phone, any screen about an hour or 30 minutes before that sleep time. And just taking that out will kind of force you to think like, all right, maybe I'll read a little bit or write a little bit or, even if you're just listening to music or whatever, but like you're forcing yourself to not be stimulating your eyes to a screen.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part, because I know a lot of people, I stopped at night, praise the Lord, but like scroll until they fall asleep. And it's like your brain, that can't be the last thing that your brain is doing.
And you can also, like there's special lights you can get too for your room that are certain shades or different colors, or you can dim your lights, like make sure it's not super bright during that time. And there's also special lights too that mirror sun. Like, so if people don't have windows, for people who don't have windows or anything to like help them wake up too, or if you have difficulty waking up or you have SAD or whatever, there's lights that can slowly brighten in the morning too, and be on automatic in your room to help you wake up better too. So there's lots of stuff out now if you Google and look it up as far as you regulating the light and the not energy, but like tech and all that stuff like going on with you. Yeah, all those exposures. You can regulate those things quite a bit actually. And I think mostly it's about us wanting to, and we're used to spending every moment like looking at a timeline and stuff. And it's like, use that time to have time for yourself. Or if you already do, now think about being even more intentional about not hopping on your phone if you're, do whatever in the evening, or keep your lights down or whatever you need to do.
Exactly. And another one is for my caffeine consumers. My best friend can't drink coffee at all. She had like a small frappuccino and was up. Like she said she was up to like 4 o'clock in the morning. And that was like in the morning. So caffeine sensitivity, like trying to limit it like later on in the day. They say at 2 p.m. But thinking about just how it affects your body. And that could be a reason why you're struggling to fall asleep. And too much caffeine is bad too.
And even if you're not struggling to fall asleep, challenge your day if you're a coffee drinker to go like a few days without drinking coffee. And I think a lot of times we don't even realize how much better it can be, or or you're not realizing how much of an effect that really does have on your body until you stop, just so you can see. And I'm not saying like quit like coffee's bad or anything like that, but see how it affects you by seeing what is your natural state. And then from there it's like, oh man, like this really is like keeping me up, or I'm actually not tired in the evenings, like, or sometimes you could be more tired because you had too much sugar spike or caffeine spike and then it goes down or whatever. So you may be thinking that, oh man, I could drink coffee and go to sleep, because I've heard a lot of people say that, or they'd be like, it doesn't matter to me, I'll still go to bed because it's, you know, warm or whatever. And it's like, you think you're asleep and you are asleep, but your brain is like working. Like it's literally fucking literally, god dang. It's really still your adrenaline pumping, and
your brain in there lit.
Yeah, and the caffeine is still working the same way. You're just so used to being at this level that you feel like this is regular. So try giving a break from that. I don't drink more than one early in the morning, so I already know, like, I feel like it doesn't really even do anything to me if I keep drinking it, but I will have trouble going to bed.
Yeah, tea too. Like, 'cause some teas do have caffeine. Also food, like limiting like how late you eat and thinking about what that last meal of the day could be. 'Cause if you're eating and trying to go right to sleep, like, can lead to a whole bunch of other stomach things. But if your body's still trying to process, like at a very base level, like immediate consumption, it also affects the healing and the rest and digestion that it can do while you're sleeping.
Right. Yeah. So your quality will be much better if you're not eating. What else? Exercise. So for me, exercising, that does, I get my best naps after exercising. But at nighttime, I don't like the exercise before like nighttime sleep, if that makes any sense. That kind of will keep me up, I think.
Yeah, it depends. For me, I usually like sleep pretty well, but also like apparently I need more sleep. So maybe that's why I still fall asleep. But it says try to limit it to at least 4 hours before you go to sleep, because it does spike all of those chemicals in your brain. So your body might be asleep, but your brain is still in here doing the cha-cha. So trying to give your brain time to rest instead of constantly moving. And then, oh, go ahead.
Do you have another one of those?
Yeah, I was just going to say taking a warm shower is something that's suggested. I love showers right before bed and hopping into clean sheets, like freshly showered and all lotioned up is amazing. It's like one of my favorite things in the world. I think I tweeted that this week.
Yeah, I don't think I have any propensity to like sleep better or less if I do that at night. So for those of you who are listening, like, oh, okay, I don't have no problems with sleep, like I get plenty of sleep. Keep in mind that there's also such thing as too much sleep. And for me personally, I know when I'm getting too much sleep, because it's like I feel even more tired, even though I'm literally in bed for like 12 hours or like 10 hours. I could be like, oh man, I got 13 hours of sleep last night. Or if I went to bed at 8 o'clock and like kept myself in bed for extra long in the morning or whatever, getting too much is not a good thing either. So make sure you're not doing that consistently.
I think energy or emotions are energy in motion, so emotion. And so I feel like I almost feel like more anxious and more sad like when I'm not moving. So it's odd. Like sometimes when I get too much sleep, I feel kind of sad and lethargic, I guess.
Like technically you feel sad, or you're talking about like guilt feeling?
No, not the guilt. Like technically, like my body, I just physically, like I think it affects me physically. And so that's one reason why I don't like too much sleep. But there's so many health risks for getting too much sleep, because your body's literally just laying like flat or wherever. And so they say you have a higher risk of obesity, heart disease, stroke. You name it, it's probably a higher risk for it, getting too much sleep. And I think that's something we don't think about, because the focus is always on not getting enough sleep.
Yeah, but in our society, it probably is kind of hard to oversleep, like to that point as well, unless you're like really dedicated to being a bum. Not that you're a bum if you get 15 hours every night, but something off. Long as them checks clearing, do your thing. Sometimes I'll be thinking I oversleep more than I undersleep. So, but I also feel the same effect sometimes, like the lethargy.
I think. I don't know.
Lethargy? Where's the accent on that word? Lethargy.
I don't know.
Lethargy. I had to try everything.
Lethargy.
Beyonce. Okay. But yeah, I think personally, I probably, maybe I don't though, because also, so thinking about this episode, we were like, asking about how often we sleep, and I was thinking at first I was gonna be like, oh, I get about 8 hours or 7 hours ish, because I aim for 8, so I'm like 7-ish hours every day. And then I actually looked at my phone, because now they have it where you don't have to have the app, like it's in your in the new iOS.
I like want to Google mine. I want to go look at mine now.
Yeah, your phone's right there. Pick it up.
Okay.
But I looked at mine and it has like the chart, because it's in your alarms.
Okay.
So if you go into your alarms, now you see bedtime at the bottom.
Oh, yep.
Oh, yours ain't even set. So turn it on.
Oh, that's why.
And so now you can set what time you want to go to sleep. So that's why my phone at 9:15, I get a ding, 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 ding. It's, your bedtime's coming up at 9:45 or 10 o'clock or whatever. And then it has what time you're waking up, so you can plan it for whatever days, what time you want. And then in the morning with this one, so this one, the one that's in the iPhone, does not do it by the best time, where you're at in sleep. It just does it at that time. And it has like a softer kind of ring, but it's showing you how much time you slept also. So if you have it set at the bottom, it has some graphs, and they'll tell you like where you've been. And so I looked at mine, and mine was at like 6 hours, 6-ish, 5-ish, 6-ish. And I was like, oh, when I actually look at the times of like putting my phone down, it really might have been like 11:30 or 11:15 or, whatever, instead of at 10 o'clock that I'm acting like, because that's what time it says go to bed. So it will show you that. And then if you do like Sleep Cycle app, or there's some other apps too, but like with Sleep Cycle, like we said at the beginning, they give you a time period to wake up, and then they, based on where you are in your sleep cycle, will wake you up at the best time.
That's really cool. I want to try the Sleep Cycle one, because I want to be woken up at my optimal time, not like when I'm getting my best sleep.
Yeah, and in the Sleep Cycle app, it also you could put in information about like what things you're eating, drinking when you had coffee, and like there's different things to put into it. So they calculate that daily to be like, well, on days you drank a lot of coffee, this is what it was, or like on Mondays this happens, and Tuesdays you do this, or based on like your life. And so understanding what's affecting your sleep as much as it can with that thing, and based off of you self-reporting. So that just kind of helps you to pay attention. And I got that app originally. I don't really even use it anymore. But when I first got it, it was because I listened to a podcast about sleep and how important it is. And I was more so curious about what does my night sleep look like. And they show you the graphs and stuff. And so seeing that was really cool, because I'm like, man, there's a certain point of the night where you're like dead, but it's like 10 minutes and then that's it, right? And like everything's back up. And they give you a percent. So they'll say your quality was 60%, your quality was 40%. And that's really what got me into the app, because I was like, 40%? Like I thought I was sleeping good. And then I started noticing. So that's what it was. That was my process with sleep, that I started noticing that, all right, it's saying I'm at 40%. Let me pay attention. So now if I drank coffee, I'll put it in there, or whatever notes. And then as I do that and see how the quality changed, then I understood like, oh, okay, like certain things that were affecting my sleep. And like what times, what I was doing, all of that.
I love, like, I'm such a nerd. I love all the data points on myself and like learning things about how to be better and optimize and feel better. So I'm going to report back to y'all. I'm going to download the app and then see what the quality of my sleep is versus what I think it is. Because right now I think that I have decent quality sleep whenever I get it, but we'll see.
Yeah, but that's the thing. And so I challenge everybody and myself, like when we're talking about ourselves, or like, why are you saying that? And like, what are we basing it off of? Not to be like everything's data, but everything is data. Like, and sure, you can interpret it however, but you don't really have a base point. Then I think it's okay to be like, I'm not really sure. Like, what are the factors? You can still look at like our list and say, I'm probably not getting as best quality sleep. But like us, like we think we kind of are. And now it's like, well, let's really see. Like now you put this app on and it's like, yeah, you were moving the whole night.
Nah,
like,
bruh. 15%.
Yeah, in the morning you might think, oh, I had a great quality sleep. So that's what I would challenge is if you do Sleep Cycle or use an app, challenge yourself the next morning, like before you really look at it, be like, how did you feel like you did? Like, how do you feel like your sleep was? And then look at that thing and be like, oh.
Oh, and screenshot it.
Or it might be good. It might be good. Yeah. Yeah. Now, and maybe this week I'll get back on my app so I can like show a couple days, of what mine might look like, and y'all can do that too if you tag us. We can talk about it.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, so get some good sleep this week. Work on that. Let us know how it is for you.
It's a perfect time of year. What is it, on daylight savings time or almost?
Yeah, so this week was daylight savings time, so now it's the fall back an hour, which means what?
This week is, or did I miss it?
That this comes out. I'm talking about this week.
Oh, okay.
That's why I say it like that.
Okay.
But fall back means 6 is really 5, right?
So
now it'll be
back,
a little lighter in the morning,
So
but
you
then
get a
those
little
nights
extra
start
sleep.
coming early. Yeah, those nights start coming early.
Oh yeah, it's dark at like 3 p.m.
Yeah, so everything's changing, and people's patterns really get off around the winter time and time change. So be cognizant of that as well.
I feel like a bear. I just kind of want to hibernate right now, but I don't know if that's because it's a change in seasons and everything happening. Because apparently there's been a lot of crazy stuff with the moon, but also is it just because I'm actually not getting enough sleep? So we shall find out. Because now I have a data point to access. That's all we have on sleep. This week we have a special shout out. So I just got back from Brazil and Argentina, and it was an amazing trip to Iguazu Falls, which is a set of waterfalls and a river that divides Argentina and Brazil. It's like a natural border between the two countries. And I went with travel agent Skylar Morgan. She has a company called Escape Wonder, and she specializes specifically in Iguazu Falls, which is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. And really dope, because I didn't even know that, like, when I went, which is funny that it has all of these dope, amazing, life-changing views. It was so beautiful. But she planned all of our excursions and had this whole itinerary. Typically, when I travel, I like to have a couple things, but I like to wander around and do my own thing. And so this was my first vacation where it was like very much scheduled, everything. And it was really nice. I still think I like a balance, but she was super dope. And so if you are interested in exploring some natural wonders of the world in Brazil and Argentina, check her out. It'll be linked in the episode notes.
Okay. And you said her name and the company and everything? Okay. And then this week, our question is, what life-altering things should every human ideally get to experience at least once in their lives? What's one thing you think?
It's such a Carlie answer. She's going to be like, oh. To be seen and to be loved for exactly who they are. Like, I think that is such a fulfilling experience, such a vulnerable, risky place to be for someone to, to see you and to just be completely open like that, but also so amazing. And you said one, so I always have to give 2 because I don't really do that. The other thing would be to find something that they love and they can completely lose themselves in it, being completely in flow. So if it's finding your passion in art or travel or flying planes, like if you want to do that, like whatever that thing is, finding an activity that is just for you that you can be all the way in.
Okay, that's good answers. I would say traveling internationally, that every human should experience that at least once, to travel somewhere internationally and really get involved in the place that you are, like with people who live there and experiencing new people and new things. So that's something I would say people should do once in their life.
Oh, I love that. No, that is a great one. And travel definitely changed my life. Wish I would have started early, but I know things happen exactly as they're supposed to.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.